Welcome to the Friday edition of E.W. Jackson for America. Great to be with you again this morning. I hope you got a chance to catch CBN Live yesterday. I was on with Gordon Robertson at 9 a.m. yesterday morning. We have a link on our Facebook page, although I think that might need a little bit of work because I tried it and it didn't quite get me to the interview, so I'm not quite sure about that yet. But we'll make sure that you can view it and make sure it's available to you on our Facebook page and on the website as well. He was really talking to me about my book, which he read, and it was obvious during the interview that he really did read the book. Whenever I do one of these interviews about my book, I go back and review what I've written. And, you know, it's always a pleasure to go back and read what you've written and say, I wouldn't change a word. You're still satisfied with the writing. It takes a long time to get there, by the way. It does not happen overnight. It certainly does not happen in the first draft or second draft. Sometimes not even in the third draft. But I said it's a great work, and I'm godly proud of it. It was a work, a labor of love that the Lord called me to. In fact, I'm working on another book right now. And so I'm hoping to write several more books before the time comes for me to depart this earth. So be praying for me in that regard. Okay, well, look, it's Friday. I'm going to get to some of the housekeeping matters here momentarily. But I want to first launch into what I consider to be the top story of the day, which began last night. And that is this special counsel report that came out about why the special counsel is declining to prosecute Joe Biden for a violation of the Espionage Act in terms of the handling of national security documents that he apparently had in his home in Delaware and had at his office at Penn State, and it's just a complete and utter mess. But in the course of that report, which, and by the way, I have the report. I haven't read the report in its entirety, but I have skimmed through it because it's 345 pages long. So it goes into a lot of detail. But I did have an opportunity to skim through it. And I can tell you something, folks. It is damning. It really is. It is damning to Joe Biden. There's no question about it. Because he says, and the news media is taking a little bit of license. What he said was not that he provides limited precision and recall during his interviews with his ghostwriter and with our office. Jurors may hesitate to place too much evidentiary weight on a single 8-word utterance to his ghostwriter about finding classified documents in Virginia in absence of other more direct evidence. And he said, because he is someone for whom many jurors will want to identify reasonable doubt, they will find him, in fact, to be, quote, sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man with a poor memory. Now, he goes on, of course, to cite instances in which Joe Biden's memory lapsed. And then we saw him come out last night in an attempt to address the firestorm, of course, of this report, and only made matters worse when he called Sisi the president of Mexico, and it was just clear that he was not all there. When Peter Doocy asked him the question about, are you too old? I'm paraphrasing, but is your mental deficiency disqualifying you from continuing to serve in office? Is your memory too faulty? And he says, well, something to the effect, no, my memory is not deficient because I called on you. The implication was he's saying, I know how badly you've treated me. This is Biden's view, how badly you've treated me. My memory, I remember that. That's really what he was trying to say. But it really came out really kind of weird, kind of awkward. Peter Doocy didn't immediately go on the attack against the president for it. He just said, well, of course he's upset because people are attacking his qualifications for office. But what he should have said was, well, I remember you, Peter. Now, he could have left it at that. I remember you. and everybody would have gotten it. But instead, well, look, here is what I want to say. So, and get ready for this, because I'm going to say something that really I don't hear anybody else saying. Now, that doesn't mean nobody else is saying it, because I haven't read everything that everybody said about it, okay? But I have skimmed the news. I have looked at a number of different sources. And I haven't heard anybody talking about this. I think we're all missing the whole point. I think the mainstream media and the conservative media even, they're missing the whole point. Folks, we all know that Joe Biden is not all there, right? I mean, we already know that. Is this supposed to be some kind of revelation? Because it's not. I mean, I suppose because a special counsel said it, and so it's coming from an official government agent, maybe it has some weight that somehow takes it to another level. I don't think it does. I think the American people know that Joe Biden is suffering from significantly diminished capacity. I think everybody already knows that. I mean, when you're talking to people who aren't there, you're referring to people who are long since dead. When you don't know which way to enter, which way to exit a room. I mean, come on. When you can't get your facts and your information straight, and you have brain freezes where you're standing there, not either knowing where you are or what you're doing or what the next thing is you're supposed to do, or the next thing is you're supposed to say. When you go through those kinds of things, and the whole world witnesses it, do we really need the special counsel to tell us that Joe Biden is suffering from diminished capacity? Again, I'm missing that point, because to me, this is really a non-story, other than the fact that the special counsel is saying it. Now, let me tell you what is a story, in my view, and I want to ratchet my way up to what, for me, is the main story from this. And it's not that. It's not Biden's diminished capacity, okay? A more important, much more important story here to me is the continuing corruption of our criminal justice system. Because and I don't know whether the special counsel did this with a wink and a nod to maybe people behind the scenes who are saying, well, this is the way we get rid of Joe Biden, or whether, and I don't think that, but that's a possibility. Of course, these people are diabolical and they are deceptive. Or whether he was naive and didn't realize that what he was giving with one hand, he was taking away with the other. In other words, he's saying, I'm not going to prosecute Joe Biden, and here's why. And the here's why would be a bigger story than the fact that he's not prosecuting Joe Biden. I mean, did he not know that? Did he not realize that? Maybe. But to me, what's even far more important than the sudden discovery or the sudden notion that some government imprimatur has put its seal of approval on the fact, yes, Joe Biden is not fit to serve, not fit to be president. He didn't say that, but that's the implication. Is the fact that once again we are seeing how corrupt our criminal justice system has become. Because having perused the document, like I said, I haven't read every aspect of it because it's a lengthy piece, but having perused the document, I come away with this. So what you're telling us is, and my understanding of the statutory framework for the protection of classified documents is, you don't have to willfully conceal or willfully abscond with or willfully take out of their proper venue classified documents or willfully expose them in order to be criminally liable. Because these are matters of such importance that if you negligently do that, you can still be criminally liable. You can still be charged with a crime under the National Security apparatus and legal system. Now that is, here again, I have not read the statutes on this, but this is what I've been hearing from legal experts now for years since this issue started coming up. Remember, this issue came up with Hillary Clinton. And it was James Comey who basically absolved her, even though he didn't have the authority to do it, basically came out publicly and absolved her before the election, saying that, nobody would really prosecute this. And the argument then was, well, because she didn't intend to do it, she didn't, that's a whole other issue. But my point is, and all the legal experts said, you don't have to intend to. You don't have to be willful about this. The fact that you put national security documents at risk is enough, because we consider this so serious that we will punish you for mere negligence, or the higher standard, recklessness, obviously. Here's a situation in which we are told a jury won't find him guilty, and there's no need in bringing charges because they'll look at him as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. But when you read the record, it's clear that Joe Biden was well aware that he was handling classified documents, that he was sharing those classified documents with his ghostwriter, that he was giving his staff access to those classified documents, and he was treating those classified documents in a very cavalier way. I mean, they're strewn all over his garage. They're not in the safe. They're not in some secret compartment somewhere where they can't be gotten to, where Hunter can't see them and share them with maybe his communist allies in China. And I wouldn't put it past him either. I mean, because they weren't paying him millions of dollars just to look good. So what we're being told is, even though Joe Biden had absolutely no authority as a U.S. Senator or as Vice President to take those classified documents out of or away from government property and to use them and store them however he saw fit, even though he had no authority to do that, he is not going to be prosecuted for it because the jury would find that he's just a well-meaning elderly gentleman with a bad memory. On the other hand, Donald Trump, who is a former president and the president of the United States, has classification authority. In other words, if the president says this is top secret, it's top secret. If the president says I'm declassifying this document, it's declassified. He has that authority as president. Joe Biden didn't have that authority. And remember, these are all documents he was carrying around with him before he became president. So it points out to us once again this apparent two-tiered system of justice, where there's one system, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden walk away with not even a slap on the wrist. Donald Trump has his home raided by machine gun toting FBI agents to get documents already guarded by his Secret Service agents, already put into a secure location behind locked doors, and yet he's being criminally prosecuted. But we're told that Biden doesn't need to be prosecuted, even though, in my view, his infractions are far more egregious. Far more egregious. And yet, he gets to walk. See, that to me is more important than whatever was said about Joe Biden's diminished mental capacity. Now, let me find you another passage that underscores this. It's like I said, this is a long document. But I've tried to highlight some of these very pertinent passages so that you can get a sense of what the document actually says. So this is the second thing. And then I want to move on to what I consider to be the most important thing that we are all missing. Oh, come on. I know this is terrible television for you to be watching me searching for something. Well, I'm going to run through it. And if I don't see it, yeah, see, this is a, like I said, this thing is 365 pages long. I didn't, excuse me, I didn't have a way of marking it. Oh, I should have done a better job, though, figuring out exactly where I needed to go. Well, at any rate, then what I'll do is I'll tell you exactly what I found. Then maybe I'll find it before I'm finished talking about it. The special counsel points out that some of these documents that Joe Biden had then and now could do grave damage to our national security if they were discovered or came into the hands of the wrong people. Now, folks, you're admitting that Joe Biden put the country at risk. You're admitting that. He says it in writing. But you're not going to prosecute him for it because the jury will think that it was just a well-meaning elderly man suffering from severe memory loss. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but so let's not prosecute him because no jury's just going, oh, we can't prosecute Grandpa. So look, that brings me really to the point that is, to me, the most important thing. And the same thing was true with Hillary Clinton. And I'll make 2 points about this. The first one is this. Folks, this stuff actually poses a threat to the national security of the United States of America. And nobody's talking about that. I mean, we're all talking about whether Joe Biden is fit to serve. And of course, we know he's not. Moving on. But nobody's talking about the fact, that's why I wanted to find that passage, and I hope I will. Nobody's talking about the fact that this is serious. I mean, you're talking about basically walking around with a cavalier attitude toward important, urgent national security matters, which special counsel here has cited as potentially damaging to our national security. So we're not talking about little documents. Well, okay, maybe that's important, but maybe not. Who knows? No. Having reviewed the documents, he concludes, yes, this stuff is potentially damaging to the United States national security. I haven't heard a single outlet talking about that. Have you? Other than me? Again, I'm not saying nobody else has. But in my view, everybody ought to be talking about it. I mean, folks, we're living in a very dangerous world. And we can't have our enemies getting our national secrets into their hands and getting insight to the behind-the-scenes thinking of our government, even when it's Joe Biden, even when it's Barack Obama. I mean, we just can't have that, no matter who they are. And yet, that's what we've got. So, which brings me to a related point. I've said this repeatedly, folks, repeatedly. And I'm going to get into another topic here in a moment, which is going to sort of serve to make the same point. And it's really sad. By the way, let me just take a moment to say, I do laugh at times about Joe Biden and at Joe Biden, but I'm not laughing about the man's condition. The man's in bad shape. I pray for him. I don't want him to be president. Neither do I want Comrade Kamala to be president. But I don't take any joy in his decline. And by the way, can we also add this point? This is not about age. This is about capacity. This is about ability. Look, there are some people at 82 years old who are sharp as a tack. I know, I've met them. I met a guy, I won't use his name, some of you might remember it. Years ago, he was 92 when I met him, very prominent businessman here in the Hampton Roads area. We had a meeting. I mean, he was absolutely on point. And then he had to interrupt the meeting and say, well, look, I'm going to let my staff take care of the rest of this because I got to go pick up my wife. He stood up, walked to his car, got in the car, picked up his wife. 92. Sharp as a tack. So this is not about age. If Joe Biden weren't exhibiting these symptoms of severe diminished capacity, I wouldn't be talking about it, would you? I mean, nobody would. We wouldn't say, well, he's 82 and he shouldn't be president at 82. If he were sharp, we would be looking to his policies, just talking about, yeah, the man's terrible for our country. Terrible. But we've got to talk about his diminished capacity because it's writ large in front of us. I mean, everybody can see it. The way he shuffles. He doesn't walk, he shuffles. That's a man who's having a hard time keeping his balance. And he's taking, I mean, I don't take any joy in that. I don't revel in that. You know, the Bible tells us not to do that. The Bible tells us that we shouldn't take pleasure in the downfall of others. I just don't want him to be president. I don't want him at any of the levers of power because he's bad for our country. Indeed, he's wicked. I hope the man gets saved before it's too late. So having said that, here's the point I really want to get to, and then I'm going to dovetail after I make this point to another story. It proves a thesis that I have been propounding over and over and over and over again. These people don't care about our country. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about the American people. They care about themselves. You know, I said when I was in the Marine Corps, I was an air radar technician. I was trained, did electronics training at MCAD San Diego, then went on to 29 Palms for my radar training. We were studying schematics for the AN/TPQ-10 radar, which is a bomb-dropping radar. It was designed to help airplanes drop bombs at high altitudes so that they could not be hit by ground-to-air mortar rockets and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they would be they could fly at a very high altitude, and yet through the information we would feed them with the radar, they could drop bombs very accurately and yet be out of reach. Those schematics were classified. We were told at the very beginning of our training, you may not take these schematics home with you. You may not take them off base. They must remain here in this training facility and go nowhere else because they are classified. And I had to have a secret clearance in order to become an AN/TPQ-10 radar technician. Didn't need a top secret clearance, but I needed a secret clearance in order to do that job. I never took those schematics off base, folks. And I'm a teenager at that point, 19, 20 years old. But I took my duty seriously enough and took the classification of these documents seriously enough that, because obviously taking them home could have been an advantage in terms of doing your homework and studying for the exams and all that. But I never did that, ever, ever. Because I took seriously the fact that these things getting into the hands of the wrong people, and we're right here in a base, and you make no mistake, anywhere you've got a military base, there are spies moving around looking for somebody vulnerable who they can use. Now, just a little lowly old private first class in the United States Marine Corps, studying to serve my country as an air radar technician, and I took very seriously the handling of documents that I knew were classified. Because I actually felt I had a duty to my country and a duty to my fellow Americans and a duty to the Corps to protect those things that I was given some stewardship over. These leftists, these Democrats, sadly some Republicans too, they don't care about the American people. They treat us like their playground. And while you might hear them pontificate, yes, classified material, I mean, that Joe Biden did that when it came to probably putting his seal of approval on raiding Mar-a-Lago and basically going after Donald Trump, indicting him for mishandling of classified documents. He called it was irresponsible for him to do. So they'll pontificate about this stuff when they think it helps them politically, but they don't care. They don't care. Because you can see the way he handled these documents. It was a big joke to him. I mean, he's telling his ghostwriter, yeah, I found some classified documents down in the basement which we can use. I mean, what? And the ghostwriter actually saw these classified documents, and some of them were top secret. Oh, I wish I'd done a better job at keeping those notes handy, because there were documents that were obtained from the search of Joe Biden's properties that went all the way to the top level, top secret. From the lowest level is confidential, highest level is top secret. Here we go. I found it. I found one of these paragraphs. It says the following. It says, on August 31, 2009, a memorandum from the National Security Advisor to President Obama marked top secret SCI. According to subject matter experts in the intelligence community, this document contains national defense information in the form of highly sensitive information about the military programs of the United States and a foreign government. The unauthorized disclosure of this information, both today and in 2017, when Mr. Biden was no longer vice president, reasonably could be expected to cause exceptionally grave damage to the national security. Oh, I'm glad I found out, because notice the language. Not just even grave damage, exceptionally grave damage to the national security. And this is stuff that he's thrown around his garage but we're not going to prosecute him because he's just a well-meaning elderly gentleman with a poor memory. Folks, this is serious. But you know, nothing in the media calls the attention of the American people to the seriousness of the matter. And frankly, in my view, what's more important than Joe Biden's diminished capacity is Joe Biden's lack of integrity, his lack of any sense of honor. I mean, if you got these kinds of sensitive documents and you're treating them like, Jack and Jill went up the hill. I found some in the basement. They're in my garage near my Corvette. They don't care about you, and they don't care about me, folks. This is why, number one, this is one of the reasons why I am 100% behind Donald Trump. With all of his flaws, I am 100% behind Donald Trump, number one. Because I believe with all my heart that in spite of Donald Trump's boisterous rhetoric and all that, Donald Trump cares deeply about this country and about its people and about the future of our nation. I really believe that. I don't believe that for Joe Biden. I don't believe that for the Democrats. I believe they care only about power. Only about power. So Joe Biden's ready to kick Donald Trump in the teeth because the way he handled classified documents is irresponsible and unforgivable and whatever, But for Joe Biden, well, I'm just a well-meaning elderly gentleman with a poor memory. So, and that brings me to that point, the national security implications and potential exceptionally grave damage to our national security, which was put at risk by this behavior that is now going to go unpunished. And once again, the proof that it shows us that these people, and by the way, all you Christians out there, and you black Christians particularly, that the Democrat Party relies so heavily on, God has given us this nation. We are stewards of it, and we are throwing it away by voting for people who couldn't give a whit about it. They care only about themselves, their own money, their own power, their own influence, their own sinecure, their own luxury, their own well-being, and they could care less what happens to you and me. And you keep voting for them. You got to stop. I've got an Exodus Now sequel coming out. Believe me, it's going to be as pointed as the first one. It probably won't go as viral because that was before they figured out how to stop people from going viral whose message they didn't like, and how to monetize it so that you can't go viral unless Facebook or YouTube or somebody's going to make money on it. But I'm going to put it out there anyway and just trust God to get it into the right hands and influence the right people, and eventually to see a sea change in the attitude, particularly of black voters, about voting for the Democrat Party. It's believe me, I've already got, I know where I'm going with it, and you believe me, it is going to be hard hitting, okay? So here's the other thing. Alvin Bragg, George Soros puppet sycophant, bought and paid for slave of George Soros, Alvin Bragg. Yeah, I describe it like, because that's exactly what he is. Selling out the safety and well-being of the people of New York in behalf of his master, George Soros. But these illegal immigrants who beat up these police officers, of course, they were released immediately, no cash bail. And I don't know whether you saw the video, but I'm looking forward to being able to bring this stuff to you so you can look at it with me, where they're coming out of the jail smiling and laughing, and one is wearing some kind of stylish sweatshirt. By the way, these illegal immigrants, they don't look poor, they don't look destitute, they don't look homeless, they're well dressed. The cartels are treating them well. But they come out, one of them smiling, and one of them mouths blank you, and then another one comes out and gives the old depravity salute. He's wearing a red hoodie, a red parka hoodie. Look, I mean, these are not inexpensive clothes they're wearing. And he comes out, and in fact, he does the double salute. I mean, they blocked it out, but you know what he's doing. And they walked. And then when the hue and cry goes up, how in the world are we letting these people who aren't even citizens of our country attack our police officers and then walk free and then basically give us the old heave-ho as the American people, like, you know what they're saying? Well, we're in charge now. Get used to it. We run the show. Not you American citizens. We illegal immigrants run the show now. Courtesy of Joe Biden and his Marxist, communist, socialist comrades. So now Alvin Bragg, after the hue and cry goes up, now all of a sudden he's outraged. We must find these people. And he's showing the video and he's showing how they kicked the police officer in the head. And this must not go unanswered. And oh, please give me a break. Give me a break. That is not about caring about police officers, even though he threw a little homage to the cops. I mean, he doesn't like cops. And it's certainly not about protecting the innocent, law-abiding citizens. He doesn't care about them. He dances to George Soros' tune, dances to the tune of this radical, Marxist, lawless mindset that says America's a terrible place and we got to fundamentally change it. And in the meantime, we got to get some cops beat up and killed and get some law-abiding citizens and men, women, and children killed. And, you know, that's a good thing because the American people deserve it anyway. They deserve it because it's such a rotten group. I mean, that's the way they really think, folks. That's the way they really think. And the only reason why he came out was he knew that his own power might be at stake. And so he had to make some kind of gesture. I am outraged by this behavior. And I'm sure that night over drinks, he laughed and said, you know, people probably bought that because they're stupid. They don't know any better. I'm not thinking about these guys. The cops they beat up deserved it. I don't like cops anyway. That's probably the way Bragg, I guarantee in his private moments, I guarantee that's the way he talks because that's the way he thinks. You know, you got to look beyond the public posture of these people and watch their behavior overall. It's just like I always said, Obama was a closet anti-Semite. I can show you an article I wrote shortly after he became president. And he was and is. He didn't like Israel and didn't like Jewish people. Unless they were doing his bidding, unless they were following his ideology. Because I said, because the Democrat Party is a party of anti-Semitism and an anti-Jewish party. Now that's coming out. Now we're seeing it. I mean, the Biden administration is jumping on Israel because you're going too far. You can't destroy Hamas. Why not? I mean, I saw a documentary on CBN while I was there watching their news going into the extensive network of tunnels that Hamas has built under Gaza for the purpose of being able to, with weapons caches hidden everywhere, for the purpose of being able to kill Israelis, to kill Jews, to be able to fight and kill Jews. And by the way, in these deep, which go 15 stories deep in some places, is where they've hidden hostages. Instead of building up Gaza, instead of bringing business to Gaza, instead of trying to create an economy that serves their people, they're busy taking all the money that the United States of America is sending to them, and they're busy building tunnels for the purpose of killing Jews and killing Israelis. And Blinken and Biden are busy saying, you're going too far, Israel. You can't destroy Hamas. It's the same deal. These people don't. Who they are and what they think, it always leaks out. They can't help it. I always said Obama's the first president in the history, and I've read pretty much, I think pretty much every biography of every president who's ever been. I've been a student of the presidency always because, of course, it's the most vigorous and powerful office in our country. Obama's the first president of the United States, in my view, who really doesn't even like America. And I believe that he doesn't even like this country. He and his wife, they don't like it. I don't know why they don't pick up and leave, but I mean, because even though their leftist ideology doesn't allow them to love America, their pragmatic side is aware that you can do better in America than you can anywhere else. So we'll take the money. Thank you very much. The man who famously said, there does come a moment when you've got enough money. Well, how much is enough for you? Because I don't see him turning money down from Netflix or publishers or any place. I mean, he's grabbing it hand over fist. Alvin Bragg's a liar. He's a liar. He doesn't care what happened to those cops. But he's doing what he needs to do to inoculate himself against some kind of effort to remove him or to be voted out of office when the time comes. That's all he's doing. And everything in his behavior tells you that. Because look, these people are really practical Marxists, right? They are practical communists. They wouldn't call themselves communists, and they're not card-carrying members of the Communist Party. But you see it in their expressions of admiration for China. Okay? You see it in their expressions of their admiration. Remember Hugo Chavez, who took Venezuela socialist, and all the Democrats said, oh, you know, what a wonderful leader he is. And he turned Venezuela into a basket case. Turned an economic juggernaut into a basket case. And now there's murder and mayhem and starvation and shortages, and it is a complete mess down there now. And they were busy celebrating Hugo Chavez, the socialist. He's going to finally bring some real social justice to Venezuela. Because they don't really care what happens to people. They care about power. And you see that at every turn. Alvin Bragg needs to be removed. He needs to go. Because we don't need prosecutors serving George Soros. We need prosecutors serving the constituencies within their jurisdictions. Thank you very much. I know. That's a very radical idea. Where in the world did you come up with something like that? This wild-eyed notion that we shouldn't have some warped, perverse billionaire financing our prosecutors to help put criminals back on the streets to murder and rape and rob and kill law-abiding citizens. We shouldn't have that. Wow. Huh. Where'd you come up with an idea like that? Yeah, the American people have got a lot of godly wisdom and common sense, except it's no longer common these days, is it? And we have just got to deal with the fact that these folks they're going to destroy our country if we don't stop them. And we got to stop them. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Okay, I'm almost out of time, so let me get to my housekeeping matters. I wanted to get to those issues first and let you know. So yeah, I mean, everybody's talking about Biden's diminished capacity. Please, I mean, who doesn't know that? We ought to be focused on the fact that you got a president of the United States who doesn't seem to care about the national security of the United States. That's the big, forgive me, who doesn't care. Strike doesn't seem, who doesn't care. It's clear he doesn't care. It's clear of what he has. He handled those classified documents the same way he's handling the border, without a bit of care about the impact on our country and our people. He cares only about the impact on his power. That's what this game is all about for them. Well, folks, I ask for your prayers. I ask for your support. If you'd like to give, standamerica.us to help us. By the way, we're going to have Senator Tommy Tuberville on our National Awakening Coalition conference call. I believe the last Tuesday in this month he will be on. But if you want us to be able to continue those programs, remember we're starting REACH, the Revolt to End Anti-Christian Hatred, the Family Restoration Institute, in order to begin to talk about rebuilding families as a preeminent issue in the United States of America. I was the only candidate who was talking about that, and I'm the only one, not the only one, I should say, but let's put it this way. I don't know of any other organization that is multifaceted that has that as a top priority, and particularly focused, not exclusively, but particularly focused on rebuilding families in the inner city so the murder and mayhem can stop. Part of that is the America's Forgotten Children. You'd like to give to that, americasforgottenchildren.com, americasforgottenchildren.com. And of course, I will be at my church on this coming Sunday at 9. I won't be there at 9, at 11 a.m. Oh, by the way, don't forget I'm going to be at Cornerstone Chapel, Gary Hamrick's church in Loudoun County, Virginia, on the 25th of February. But I will be at my home church on this coming Sunday. What's that? The 11th of February at 11 a.m. for the live service, and I will be live streaming at about 11:20 a.m. Right there on the website or on Facebook. I encourage you folks, please forgive me if this seems self-serving, and I can't help that, but every time I go back and read excerpts from my book, in fact, I mean, my book talks about this whole gender confusion nonsense, and knowing how long it was in the works, I'm kind of surprised that I was on top of that issue as I was writing the book, which was, goes back several years now that I was writing it. But believe me, you won't regret getting the book and reading it. You really won't. I think you will find it encouraging, inspiring, informative, and I think you'll walk away with shall we say, walk away with an enhanced sense of why we ought to love this country. Because that's why I call it sweet land of liberty. That's what it is, folks. And even I, as a descendant of slaves, can say that without apology, without equivocation. Every American ought to love this country and be grateful to God for it. Okay? So look, pray for me, help me. We've got a lot of work to do, and we're not quitting. We're going on in the name of the Lord. But I need your help to do it. We're hoping to get to 500 Patriot partners this year. We're only up around 225 right now, but I'm hoping to get to, we suffered some fall off during COVID, and we're still recovering from that. But I want to get to 500 this year. So go to standamerica.us, sign up as a Patriot Partner. Remember, if you sign up as a Patriot Partner, we'll send you a gift no matter what level you sign up at. But if you sign up for $25 or more a month, you give a one-time gift of $300, I'll send you a signed, numbered copy of my book. In the meantime, stand up, step up, speak up, refuse to back up. Because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit. Because we are on God's side.